Today I will explain to you as simple as possible how the Purification enemies work, so you can strategize a bit better to get all your rewards before the Purification ends. And let's start with Argenti from the first note, since he's the most interesting here. But it is actually not Argenti himself that is noteworthy here, it is actually his summons. Since, yes, when you kill his summons, you get rewarded with Argenti losing a bit of HP, but the most interesting thing is that when you, let's say, kill this lance summon of his, all enemies get a bit of damage and their toughness gets reduced. For like the small enemies it is 1/3 of their toughness bar, and Argenti a bit like this. But when a summon is enhanced, so if the lance is enhanced, when it dies it does more damage and reduces double the toughness. But then the question arises, of course, how do you know whether a summon is enhanced? And that is indicated with them glowing a bit golden like this rose. And they get enhanced when Aventurin like waves his hands at the start of his turn sometimes. So for the lance we know when he's enhanced, he does just more damage to the enemies and reduces more toughness. But with the rose, when he dies, the killer gets a damage bonus. And if he is enhanced, we get 2 stacks of that damage bonus. And this damage bonus lasts for like 3 turns. So you want to make sure that you kill these roses with your DPS or sub DPS. So if a rose, like for example, has 1 HP left, I don't want to attack him with Raw May. And that's actually the key thing about this wave. Just make sure you do your consistent AoE attacks and all these roses and lances will just die on the sidelines. There's actually nothing more you can do here that can give you an edge in clearing this regarding the strategy. Like when the lance gets a turn, he does damage to all your allies, and when the rose gets a turn, he gives that damage bonus to Argenti. And Argenti himself literally doesn't do anything special or hindering to you. He just does his single target attacks and AoE attacks. So now let's go to the second wave of the first note. And let's start with this enemy right here. As you can see, he is a bit transparent, and that means he's in this lurking state, which indicates that we cannot target him directly. But he does get damage when you do your blast or AoE attacks. So if I did like a blast attack to this enemy, not that I have a blast attack dealer in my team, but if I did that, then he would get that main damage and these small ones would get the sideline damage of the blast attack. And the nice thing of this enemy being in this transparent state is that he does get increased damage from that attack. So all you need to know is when he is transparent, he gets increased damage. And another cool thing is, when you weakness break this enemy when he's in this transparent state, what happens is that his action will be delayed and he will get a vulnerability debuff, which is always appreciated. But in most cases he will just die on the sidelines though to your AoE attacks. But if he still hasn't died while he is in his transparent state, and he doesn't attack when he is in his transparent state, then attack will do a bit more increased damage and he will go out of that state. But you really don't need to mind him that much. Like I said, he will just die on the sidelines. And we also have this enemies. He's also really not that interesting. All he just does is that he has an attack that does bounce attacks, and that's it. He doesn't do anything more than that. So you just got to get lucky that his bounce attack doesn't hit one ally in one go. The probability for that is really low. The most interesting enemy is of course this boss enemy in the middle. And what you got to know about her is that her attacks have a chance to apply wind shear on you. Luckily nothing that hinders our flow of the team like freezing or imprisoning. The only irritating thing about her is that she can enter this state where she makes her staff like glow yellow a bit. When you see her staff glowing yellow like this, just know that the next action of hers, so her next turn, she will apply a debuff on your allies, which like makes it so that your recoverable HP is reduced by 30%. So you cannot heal more than this. This is the cap. But if you just make sure you weakness break her before that turn of hers, she will cancel that. So all you really need to remember about Zwave is that when you see her staff glowing yellow, weakness breaker, it will get cancelled, that's it. And then next turn she will try again, enter that state, and then you need to weakness break her again. But by that time she will be dead already. And enemies on the sidelines, nothing special, nothing that hinders you. They will just die though to your blast or AoE attacks. And then we got the first wave of the first note. And the most irritating enemy here is this enemy right here. Since her attacks have a chance to apply reverberation on you, which is this thing right here. When you get applied this thing, this itself does nothing. But when you have this on your head and you get attacked by any enemy, so let's say the trash can attacks us, then what happens is that this thing will go away and will get replaced by another debuff, which is this debuff. When you get this debuff, your action will be delayed by quite a lot and you cannot do anything until the start of your next turn, which is what happened to Little Heart, as you can see. The probability of you getting this reverberation on your head is quite low. I never got it before, but this time it just got out of hand and everybody got this reverberation. Like Rolmei got it, Small Herta got it, and Big Herta got it too, as you can see right here, which carried over from the first wave because no one in the second wave can apply this reverberation. But all you need to know is that when you see this thing on your head, make sure you cleanse that. And if you cannot cleanse before you get attacked, so this thing happens to you, what happened to Small Herta, just restart because your action got like delayed by 70% already. So even if you cleanse small Herta now, the damage would have already been done. So just restart to make sure you get the maximal points possible to get all your rewards if you didn't manage to get it before then. And then for the other enemies, we got these enemies with arrows. They just do AoE attacks. But the interesting thing is that their AoE attacks can apply erosion on you. As you can see, everyone has this red HP bar. And what that means is that now, whatever damage we get, a part of that will be converted into this red HP. And when you consume your own HP, all the consumed HP will be red. Well, the most interesting thing is that whenever we attack, when we have this red HP, we will restore a bit of HP. When we have restored all this HP and the corrosion is gone, then we will get a nice damage bonus for our next attack. So the tip is, for this node, have a healer in your team, so that you are not bound to attack enemies to restore this HP. Since, like I said, when you have corrosion and you attack enemies, you restore a bit of that corrosion. So if, for example, Rome attacks one enemy, since she only does single target attacks, she will restore a small bit of HP. So she is bound to attack enemies to restore that corrosion HP. But if we had a healer, like Gallagher, not the best one, but sure, good enough. And he casts his ultimate, and then we attack with Gallagher. Everyone in our team will restore HP. So now everyone will get that nice damage bonus of that dispelled corrosion. So the tip is, have a nice consistent AoE healer in your team. Gallagher, sure, not the best one, but good enough to get all the points for his purification. And then for the last enemy of this wave, we got the trash can. All you need to know is that the objective is to weakness break him. And as you might have noticed, when you start the battle, he doesn't have any weaknesses. To apply a weakness to him, you just need to attack him, and he gets the weakness type of the character you attacked with. In my case, I have 3 ice characters in my team and 1 fire, so I can attack him with anyone I want. Since he can only just have 2 weakness types at max. Sure, you have Anaxa, he can have all the weakness types, but in this case, he can just have 2 weakness types. So make sure that you're attacking with allies who do consistent attacks. So like if I didn't have Ron but I had Robin, I do not want to attack a trash can with Robin, since now that trash can is bound with that physical weakness. And when I cast ultimate to Robin, Robin will never attack. So now the only weakness type I can apply to this trash can is ice or fire, preferably ice, since small Herta and big Herta do the most consistent attacks. So takeaway from this wave is, when you see this on your head, make sure you cleanse it ASAP. If you do not manage to cleanse it and your character goes into this state like small Herta, just restart. Your action got already delayed, the damage has been done. And make sure you have a healer so that you can get this nice damage bonus more consistent, giving that next attack of yours a damage bonus, and attacking the trash can with characters who do consistent attacks. That's it. And now let's go to the second wave and start from top to bottom again. Because the most interesting enemy here, and the most difficult one, is of course the bug side. But there are not really many special mechanics going on here. Since the big bug himself just does attacks which can like apply wind shear to you or trigger some wind shear on you. Nothing that hinders your team or imprisons you, freezes you. Nothing special. Which is the same case with the small bugs, has attacks that can apply wind shear on you. The most interesting thing about him is really just that when you kill him, all the enemies will get the vulnerability debuff on them. That's it, which means they will take more damage. Really nothing more than that about these bugs. Like I said, nothing that hinders you. Consistent AoE attacks for this wave. The only really tip I recommend you to have a healer here because of this enemy here. Since when he attacks you, just like with the arrow enemies from the first wave of the first node, when he attacks you, he converts a portion of the damage he deals to corrosion. So this red HP you will get, which looks like this, exactly like this. When you see this, all you need to know is that when you remove this red HP, and how do you remove it? Well, when you have red HP, you attack anyone, the more enemies you attack, the more he will heal back. If you have healed everything back by attacking or by, for example, Lucha's skill or his healing field, what will happen is that your next attack will do increased damage. So you will get this buff which says that. So if you have a healer in your team and everyone in your team has this transparent red HP, if you have a healer, just one basic attack of anyone in your team, though to Lucha's field, everyone will heal that red HP back, so everyone will get that damage bonus for the next attack. It just makes it a bit more consistent to get that damage bonus. That's it. So this wave is basically just a DPS test. And what do these enemies do? Well, first of all, this bird, the most interesting thing about him is that he can give another enemy a buff called Stormrite. And it will look like this beneath their feet, which is a small storm. And what this says is that at the end of that enemy's turn, so if this lion had this Stormrite, at the end of their turn, you will get another action immediately, which is bad. So how do we make sure we get rid of this tornado beneath their feet? Well, we got to make sure we weakness break the enemy to remove that Stormrite of him. And we want to do that especially with this lion if he had this Stormrite, because as you might have noticed, this lion can apply these suns on your head. When you have 2 suns on your head, the second you get that, they will go away. Nice. But you will also lose energy and take a chunk of fire damage. So how do we make sure that we do not get these two suns on our head? Well, to remove these suns, all we got to do is kill enemies. So if, for example, I kill with Tribi this eagle, then what happens is that Tribi's sun will go away. But if Tribi had no sun to begin with, then she will remove a sun from anyone else in your team. That could be Mem, for example, or Remembrance MC if she still had that sun on her head. So basically, all you need to know is these suns on your head will go away automatically if you can just do the most important thing in Perfection, and that is consistent AoE or blast attacks. Or yeah, better said, consistently killing enemies, which is also possible with Fei Shao or Selo, wherever you got, with whoever you want to roll block this Perfection. And now for the last enemy, we got this arrow enemy, which is the same enemy as in the first note of the first wave. All she does is that she does AoE attacks and can apply erosion on you, like we said. And if you heal when you have erosion, your next attack will do increased damage. That's it. And then now we can go to the first wave of second note. The most interesting enemy here is this enemy right here. And he has, as you can see, these stacks here. And the reason why he has these stacks is that when you reduce those stacks to 0, a couple of things will happen. First of all, his action will be delayed. And he will take a chunk of damage. And every time you attack him, he will take additional damage. Nice thing is that the character that reduced these stacks to 0, so let's say Lucha, will get a bit of energy. So the best case scenario would to kill these enemies with the third attack you do. Because if you kill them when they have like 2 stacks, then you miss out on that free energy, which is always appreciated. And now we can go into more detail what this enemy himself does, since these stacks are not unique to himself only, since Lance of Fury has them too and other enemies too. What this enemy does is that he can mark an enemy with this yellow shining thing around him, as you can see, like with this trash can. And what this says is that this enemy now has increased speed and does more damage. So how do we make sure we remove this buff he gives to any enemy? Well, when you reduce his stacks to 0. When you do that, then this buff he gives to enemies will go away. Or you just make sure you kill him, then it will also go away too. But there's also other interesting thing, and that's that when you kill him, the character that killed him will get a damage bonus and increased speed. So the takeaway is, make sure you kill this enemy with your DPS, so that your DPS gets that increased damage and speed bonus. And for the other enemy, we got this enemy, which is the same enemy as in the fight against the Bug. He just does press attacks, can apply corrosion on you, like with the other billion enemies that does this in the Perfection. You want to cleanse this corrosion by healing it. When you do that, you get a nice damage bonus for your next attack. That's it. And now for the last enemy, we got the trash can. Takeaway is that you want to weakness break him, not kill him, since he is tanky. To apply a weakness type to him, attack him with the character who does the most consistent attacks, since he gets the weakness type of the attacker, and he can hold up to 2 weakness types that way. So for example, in my case, I don't want to attack him with Remembrance MC, since my Lucha does more consistent attacks compared to my Remembrance MC, because I have the Eagle relic set on him and I run him very fast. So I can do way more consistent attacks to this trash can with Lucha compared to Remembrance MC. And make sure you do not ignore this trash can for too long, since every time he attacks, he increases his own attack. So objective, make sure you weakness break him and have a healer in this wave. Well, for this wall note actually, and for the first note too. But I want you to remember this though. You can play with Archer and Saber in this Perfection, since the last day of this Perfection will be on Sunday, the 20th of July. And the Fate Collab is expected to be on the 11th of July. But you can also play it with Painon this Perfection, since he is expected to release on the 2nd of July. But if you're like still unsure whether you want to summon for Painon or Saber or whoever, well, on the 17th of June, the 3.5 drip marketing is to be expected. So you can make a more educated decision whether you want to summon for those 3.5 characters or not, so you can make a better plan with your Jade spending. But also looking first on the 20th of June, the 3.4 live stream is to be expected, where they will go into the kits of the fake characters and Painon, of course. But also they will tell us which reruns will come. So if you miss a couple of characters or want a couple of characters, you can wait until then to see which characters will rerun. But my point is basically, take your time. You still have a lot of opportunities to clear this Perfection. Just play with who you want to play. The objective is to just get your rewards before the Perfection refreshes. So I thank you for paying attention and see you the next time. Bye.